If you are ready to learn how to market your $5,000, $10,000, $30,000 service or offer online, this video is for you. Welcome. I'm Esther. I'm the founder of CottnOwl. And what I'm going to teach you inside of today's video is what I have acquired and learned and have set successfully in place in my own business and for my clients over the past 4 years of founding and running CottnOwl Agency, and compounded with over 7 years inside of two of the largest Fortune 500 finance corporations in the world. So welcome. Today, I want to walk through exactly how to market online, specifically online, your $5,000 or more service or offer. There is a lot of mystery created by marketers around how to do this successfully. And the purpose of this video is that you will have clarity by the end to know exactly what you need, and more specifically, what you don't, to actually have a business and an offer and a marketing strategy to enroll and first attract and then enroll clients into that offer consistently month over month. So let's dive in. So the first thing that you need when you are ready to market your online service or offer is an understanding of where your ideal client currently is. So I'm going to give you some examples, and then of course, as with all of my videos, you can go out and do due diligence, or if you'd like to work with me, I have many different ways that I work with clients, links below. But the first thing you need to determine is, where is your ideal client when they are actively online? Is that on YouTube? Is that on Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it LinkedIn? Are they reading or consuming certain blog posts and articles? Are they leveraging AI to get answers? And so once you define what that is, where your ideal client is online, then you can move into how you're going to market to them on that specific platform. So the first is, and you can ironically leverage AI to help you better understand where your ideal client is. But as with all things, it is about testing. So my recommendation, and I have rarely seen any industries, niches, offer services where this is not applicable. But my recommendation is to start with Meta as the platform. And so the best way to find out if your ideal client is on that platform and what the audience size is to put that in AI. Tell it what your offer is, what your service is, what your price point is, who your ideal client is, what country you specifically want to target. I target the United States. You might be in a different country. You might want to target specifically to your area. That's perfectly fine. But what you are using AI for, specifically in this example, is to have it show you the opportunity of having ads and a social media strategy on that specific platform. So the first is to find out where your ideal client is. If you're not sure, like I said, I would recommend starting with Meta, and I'll explain why in a moment. But use AI to understand, like, what is the audience size on that platform for your specific offer. How many, and then of course from there you can reverse engineer. So if your audience size is in the millions, you have a wide opportunity of so many clients that you can get in front of, so many prospects you can get in front of to convert them into a client. So I do start with Meta. And the reason is this: when it comes to advertising, and when we are talking about selling consistently your $5,000, $30,000 service or offer, you are going to need to advertise. Okay. There are very few instances where you don't, and that is if you have an established social media channel, a strategy already in place, in which case, very unlikely that you're watching this video. So that is why we start with advertising. And the reason that we start with Meta is because Meta is the quickest platform when it comes to advertising to see if your messaging, if your funnel, if your strategy, if your client acquisition system, if everything is actually converting at a low cost before you then go in and scale it by increasing your ad spend. And then that's where you get to test different creatives and all of the things. But for the simplicity of this video, and for what I have seen over the past 4 years, Meta is hands down the best and the quickest platform to validate and actually get things converting, and then you can branch out and go into all the platforms. If you find that your ideal client is not on Meta, I would be very surprised, but if that is the case, then you can do all of this on any of the other ad platforms. Okay, you can still run ads on LinkedIn, you can run them on Google, you can run them on YouTube, you can use ChatGPT ads. No right or wrong. I personally am on almost all of those running ads at the moment, but I started with Meta ads. So once you know where your ideal client is, and you have decided what platform you're going to advertise on, and in tandem with an advertising strategy in 2026, 2027, you do need to have a social media presence. Now, I am not going to tell you that you need to go and post 3 times a day. I'm not going to tell you that you even need to post 1 time a day. But I will say that when I think about a social media account and social media strategy, I think about it as a business card. So you want to be present on those platforms and show your credibility, your authority, build a bit of a relationship. It can be done ideally through video, especially when we're talking about this specific price point. It can be done through video content, simple talking head reels. You do not need to get fancy with video editing. I can't stress that enough. I see so many founders when I mention the word of or the idea of sitting in front of a camera and recording, they freeze and then they start to think, well, I need to hire video editors and I need to do this, and the expenses just creep up. You don't need to do that. Once you have consistent revenue coming in, if you desire, you can of course do that. But I will tell you that even where I am in my agency today, I have never done any type of professional videography or hired a team. That does not mean it will not change. But as of now, I've built a very successful business without those things. So I am here to tell you that it can be done very successfully. So you want to have a social media strategy only to showcase you and to leverage it as a business card, right? So this is why I love Meta, because it's very easy. You can do carousels if you prefer. You can do posts. You can do quote posts, right? There's no right or wrong. But when it comes to the marketing piece of that, which is the ad, now we want to leverage, in this example, Meta. So the goal is that you have an ad. And again, I'm going to start to speak specifically to Meta at this point. But again, this is if you choose YouTube, if you choose ChatGPT, if you choose LinkedIn, it does not matter where you want to advertise. But when you're running ads, the job of the ad at this price point, at this specific price point, all right, is to build a relationship, to build trust, and to show why your offer and you are a good solution so that your ideal client will click on that ad and go to the next step. That is the only purpose of an ad. And what I have found after years of doing this is that video ads will always outperform a photo or a static ad for a $5,000 or higher price point. So I am not saying not to test image only creatives, but I will tell you that I have done that and it has not converted as well as video. And the reason is this: when somebody sees my ad and they're scrolling on Meta, scrolling on Instagram, scrolling on LinkedIn, I also run ads there, on YouTube, they see my face and they're leaning in because they're curious. They're like, oh, this sounds interesting. So again, that does come into what am I saying in the first couple of seconds. But this allows somebody to engage with me, to hear how I speak, how I articulate, what am I talking about, what is the tone of my voice, and it causes them to lean in. And when they lean in, now they watch the video just a little bit longer, right? And so what happens is now, this is when the ads retargeting comes in. So perhaps the first time they saw your ad, they watched 3 seconds in, and then guess what? They get retargeted. If you don't know ads, retargeting is a separate ad campaign where you get in front of your ideal client based on their interaction by either clicking on the ad or watching the ad video. So now your ideal client has seen your ad, and now Meta's like, oh, they've watched us a little bit on YouTube or wherever you're on wherever you're advertising, and they're like, let's show it to them again. And so what happens at this price point is when you are on camera and you're talking about your offer and your ad is 1 minute to 3 minutes to 6 minutes. I've had ads that are 7 minutes, over 7 minutes. They've done very well. What happens is your ideal client on prospect at this point on the other side will lean in and they'll make it a little bit further each time. And this is intentional because when you're selling a $5,000 offer or a $30,000 service or offer, your ideal client is very likely not going to opt in the first time they see your ad. They're not going to take the next step when they see your ad the first time. They're going to engage and then they're going to keep scrolling. And that is just normal human behavior. So what happens is the second time they see your ad, now they're like, oh, I remember this. This looks interesting. Let me listen a little bit more. And typically what we see is at that point, that's when they'll take the next action step. So this is why it's really important that you have your ads running and that you give your ads time to season and to warm up, and not only for the algorithm to actually find your ideal client inside this big pool of people that you're going to give it, but also to give your ideal client, who is the ideal client on the other side, time to make that next step themselves. And so this is also where I see a lot of founders, they will give up because their ads are not working in the first 5 days because an ads agency told them that their cost per lead should be $3 and that they should have this many people opting in the first 3 days, and they haven't had a book call in the first 5. And now here they go in, this is the ads agencies, they'll go in and they'll tear everything down and they'll start over. And they'll start over and they'll start over. And I see so many clients that come and work with me who have experienced this, who have not seen any success because the ads agencies are incredibly wrong in this strategy. When you're selling an e-commerce offer, absolutely, I'm sure that will probably work. I don't know about e-commerce, but that's what I've been told. When you're selling a high ticket offer, we're building trust, credibility, authority, and we're building, we're showing awareness of our offer. So you cannot and should not expect that to convert in the first 5 days. hands like period. So if you have and you've tried to market your online offer, and what I just walked you through sounds very familiar, this is why it didn't work. So when you are marketing your offer, you have to be in ads for the long game. And I will argue that you need your ads to be running a minimum of 3 months before you're going to start to see what I call the compounding effect. Okay. So I'm going to go a little bit deep here, but then I'm going to go back to the rest of the marketing strategy. Okay. We're still focused on ads. The first month that you turn your ads on, it is going to be a bit of a hodgepodge. You're going to have qualified, you're going to have unqualified, you're going to have people clicking on the ad, metas, or the algorithm, wherever you're advertising is not going to know where your ideal client is. It's going to be a messy month, right? So month 1 is really where you want to go in and mentally prepare that ad spend may or may not come back to you in month 1. It's very likely not going to. So month 2 now is where the algorithms get a little bit better. And so they can get the right client, and they can get your ad in front of the right client now consistently. They understand better who your offer is for. And so in month 2, while the algorithm is getting better at who your offer is for, you're also getting back in front of the people who saw you a month ago. And now, because you've built authority, you've built credibility, you've built trust through the retargeting ad. Now they're like, oh, this looks interesting. Let me click and let me take the next step. So month 2, we typically see a little bit more momentum. Month 3 is the month, though, when everything's converting. So this is not to blindly turn your ads on in month 1 and not do anything with them. You do need to make sure they're working, and this is where an ads agency can help you. But you do want to make sure that things are working. But month 1 will be slower. Month 2 will start to pick up. Month 3, once everything's working, the ads are converting, you're in front of the right audience, all the things are working. Month 3 is typically where we see things jump. And the reason is because the algorithm has really locked in on who your ideal client is. And believe it or not, yes, it can take up to 3 months for it to do that. But on the back end of that, what you also don't see is the retargeting ads, of course. More trust, more authority, more credibility building in your favor on the platform. The nurture sequences and the emails that you are hopefully sending to your client, and I'm going to go back to that in a moment, that's part of the marketing, that you are hopefully sending to your clients completely automated, is getting in front of them and getting your business in front of them in very different ways than the ad can. Because I think the most simple explanation of marketing is this: you're not one ad, one video, one email is not the thing that's going to tip a client over and say, oh, this is the person, let me work with them. It's all of it. And so that's why you need all of these things working cohesively together, which is why the whole topic of this video is how to market your $5,000 or more offer or service. So let's go back to the marketing. That's just the ads. So the only purpose of an ad, and this is why we don't set up ads, because there are amazing people who can work with you and either show you how to do this or work and do it for you. But setting up the ad itself on the platform, the only job of an ad is to get somebody to click on the ad and take the next step. What happens after they click? Now we're really going further into the marketing and the client acquisition strategy. And this is where a lot of founders say, well, ads didn't work for me, because they were sold on the ad being the thing that sells the offer, but the ad is the only job of the ad is just to raise awareness and get someone to take the next step. What happens after they click is where the true marketing comes in. Now, this is why it is so important, though, to make sure that when you are setting up your ads, that you are targeting the right audience, that you do have the right settings in place. Because if your ad is getting in front of the wrong people, you are not going to see any success on the back end. So the ads are very important to all of this. But once the ad is converting and it's doing its job, now it's the job of the system. And so this is what I'm about to go into. This is what we set up. This is what I custom build. This is what I help my clients set in place in their businesses. This is the step that happens after somebody clicks on the ad. And this is where the marketing really comes into play. So where you send them after they click on the ad will make or break your offer or your service in terms of online sales. And what I mean by that is, dependent on your offer and your ideal client, if you are sending them to a challenge page, for example, let's say that you want to do a 5 or a 3-day challenge to get in front of your ideal client, to show them all your authority, all the things that you can help them with. Or perhaps you want to do a webinar where they come into the room and you are going to talk on something specific for 2 to 3 hours. Maybe it's just an hour, it's no right or wrong. Or you're going to send them to the opportunity to have a conversation with you one-on-one. That's my personal favorite. There's no right or wrong. Perhaps you're sending them even just to something for free where they can download it. Perhaps they buy it. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's free and you give them like a PDF or a guide or a mini video series, right? So many different ways you can have. They're called lead magnets. Regardless, Where you send someone after they click on the ad will determine how quickly you scale and how effective you are in terms of bringing and filling your pipeline with high value clients. Because if you are bringing your ideal client into the wrong strategy based on your niche and your offer, this is where you will very likely find that the ads don't convert. For example, if you are a coach and you send somebody into a challenge, that can be a very successful strategy for coaches. In my offer for my business, as a done for you service, and we do offer a done with you as well, but the core offer that I have is a done for you service. If I run a challenge, it is not a good fit for my ideal client. So people will enroll, but it is not something that is typically going to move the needle forward to have somebody want to work with me, because the challenge is to do it yourself, right? And then that's where that's why it works so well in the coaching industry. In my space, it doesn't work very well, because if I'm asking somebody to come in and do it themselves, then why do they need to work with me in a done for you capacity? See what I'm saying? Or perhaps you have an offer that is you are able to, anyone that you have a conversation with closes. I hear this a lot from my clients. Anyone that I get in a conversation with, I can close them. We just need more conversations on the calendar, right? That's me personally. I love conversations. So if that is you, then I would argue that even a webinar strategy is probably not the thing that's going to be the best for you. You're going to want a booked call funnel, right? So when you are setting your marketing strategy in place, you want to make sure that what you're setting in place is not only a good fit for your audience, for what they want, for what they actually need to hear from you, but that it's actually a good fit for the next objective, whatever that is in your business, right? So when you're marketing your offer, you have the ads first. Make sure you get on the right platform. Make sure you're testing, maybe make sure that you are validating and optimizing and getting it converting. But now that the ads are getting somebody in the right audience, clicking on the ads, and they're going to your opt-in pages, make sure that that next step makes sense for your industry and your offer. Now we're going to go a little bit deeper, because that's just to make sure that wherever you're sending them makes sense for your industry. But on those pages now, you do want to be very specific with the copy. It's called copy. It's the words on the page. This is what copywriters, I'm a very well established copywriter, but this is what copywriters are able to do very, very well. It's called direct response copy. And because we want somebody to take a direct response. We want them to directly respond back to us, or directly respond to a form and opt in. So the next step of all of this converting is not only getting them to that page and then making sure that wherever you're sending them is what they actually want from you, but now how are you articulating on that page? What is your copy saying? Is it moving them and making them aware that this is the obvious next step for them, whether that is to opt in to watch a video, to opt in to watch a webinar, to opt in to get something for free, to buy something that's low ticket, to buy something that is mid ticket, to sign up for a five-day challenge, right? This is where the words on that page are so important. So important. I can't stress that enough. This is the one place that will make or break your funnel, your client acquisition system as well, is not having the right words on that page. You can have too much, you can have too few. And this is where optimizing and testing come into play. Because if you are not able to understand how to test and make sure that it's converting in a realistic way, for example, if your expectation is that 100% of the people who land on that page will take the next step, that's a very unrealistic expectation. We would all love that, but it's not realistic. So you need to look at the conversions, right? So how many people that are making it to that page, how many of them are actually taking the next step, right? And once you know what that is after a week or two, then you can start to optimize. Then you can start to tweak and see if you can inch that conversion number up, right? This is where you can start to lower, possibly, the cost per acquisition, the cost to have somebody book a call with you. This is where you get to go in and can have moderately low ad spend and have amazing results if you know how to do this really well. So the copy on that page, the words on that page, the testimonials on that page, the credibility on that opt-in page will make or break in the decision of your ideal client who's on the other side, who has seen your ad, who has made it to this page, on whether they're going to take the next step. So this is step number 2. Is that page engaging them? Is this what they want? And are we speaking in the most clear, concise way to get them to take the next step? So after that's been refined and that's converting, and you know that they're opting in, wherever you're sitting them next, now you have to look at the next step. And is the next step converting? If it's a challenge, or how many of those participants in that challenge are actually converting? If it's 100 people coming to every challenge and 3 are enrolling, that's your conversion number. And so that's when you have that number, you can start to see inside of the challenge, what could you possibly shift? What could you possibly optimize? How could you get more of those 100 people to become a client? The same with your booked calls. How many people are coming through and booking a call with you if you're doing a book call funnel? How many are actually coming through and booking a call? How many are showing up? What's your close rate? Once you have that, then you know what that number is, and then you can scale, or you can even get better at selling on those one-on-one calls. If you're doing a webinar, it's the same. And so all of that is so it's integral to actually marketing your highest ticket offers and selling it consistently. And so this, while it sounds very simple, as I'm sure you are aware, it is not simple, because inside of all of that is the messaging, it's the copy, it's the testing, it's the optimizing. Okay. However, there is a bright side on the other side of the rainbow. So once you have gotten through all of the testing and the optimizing, right? We've gotten through the thunderstorms that are creating the rainbow. Now you get to go to the other side, because now once everything's optimized, once everything's converting, once everything's working, it will continue to work again and again and again and again. And so now you know what your cost per acquisition is, what your cost per lead, what your cost per book call, what's the lifetime value of your client, right? If that's important to you, it should be. What is the cost? What do you make? What do you spend in ad spend every month? What do you make every month? This is how you market your highest ticket offer, your highest service online. And once you have that locked in, on the back end of that, and I skipped forward, I should go back. On the back end of that, when somebody opts in, again, back to what I said a little while ago, when they're seeing your ad and they're getting retargeted, and they're moving a little further into your system, your funnel, your client acquisition strategy, and now they are taking that next step. However you have it set up, there should be additional follow-ups via email. If you're doing a direct message strategy, you can automate that as well, where you're sending anyone who has opted in another direct message. Again, because when marketing, it's not one specific thing, it's all of the pieces together. So it's the ad. It's where you're sending them after they click the ad. It's the email nurture that they're going into, or the direct messaging sequence that they're going into, or just a manual follow-up, right? When you are first starting out, you don't necessarily have to automate everything. I'm a big advocate of it. That's actually how I built my business. I just started day one from automating, so I'm not going to tell somebody not to. I think it's the best thing you can do. But if that is not something that appeals to you, you can still go in and manually reply to every single person who comes through your system, your funnel, right? There's so many ways that you can build a client acquisition system that is strategically built, not just for your offer, your price point, the ideal client that you want to work with, but also built to how you like to deliver your offer and sell your offer, right? So this is where I am a huge believer in custom client acquisition systems, not cookie cutter strategies, not the strategy that worked for this other coach and it's not going to work for you, not because the strategy itself can't work, but because perhaps that strategy is like mine, to book a one-on-one call and you don't like one-on-one calls, or you can't convert one-on-one calls. And so perhaps your strategy is a webinar, because you are exceptional at selling one-on-one, by one-to-many. You're exceptional at just showing up on camera and having everybody say, yes, I want this, sign me up, right? We all have our own skill sets. And so within those skill sets, within our industry, within our niche, that's where you want to have a client acquisition system that is built for you, for where you're taking your business. And then on the back end of that is obviously the scaling of that strategy. So I would argue, have a strategy that works for you first. Market your offer in a way that makes sense for you. Start there. Enroll clients. And once that is consistently going and everything is working cohesively, when you are ready to scale and you're ready to increase ad spend, and perhaps that strategy, maybe it doesn't work as effectively at scale. Well, guess what? It's okay. You can shift the strategy. You can easily change and make things more automated than they are. You can leverage more AI. But the biggest thing I cannot stress right now is just doing the thing first, just getting it out there, getting it built, getting a strategy in place so that your ideal client who does want to work with you and needs to work with you can find you, whether you're a wealth management advisor, whether you're a CPA, whether you are a high value coach where it's selling $100,000 services annually, whether you are a consultant, whether you are a practitioner, it doesn't matter. There is a specific strategy that will work so well for your ideal client and for your business. And so the first step is finding it, building it, testing it, optimizing it, and then having that in place in your business to scale you to your next revenue and beyond. If you liked this video, I would ask that you subscribe, follow, and like, and I will be back and see you inside of our next YouTube video very soon.